my little dog gone? Where can he be? With his ears cut short and his tail cut long. Where can he be?
All right, yes. A little bit of a musical interlude here as we are going to be trying to figure out where, oh, where has Beto O'Rourke gone? And that was just a little piece by Carolina Cotton back in 1950. And I think it's kind of appropriate. Where or where did Beto O'Rourke go? Where is he? What happened to him? Because what we know, well, as you may have seen in the news so far, it's been out all day. Beto O'Rourke is no longer going to be running for the president. He's no longer a member of the Democratic nominees trying to go up against Donald Trump. And there's so much that can be said about this. He's had such an impact for gun owners, for gun manufacturers, for advocates of the Second Amendment, and, even a few Democrats here and there. So you have to ask the question, what's going on? What happened here? Where did he go? What happened to the force of nature that was supposed to be Beto O'Rourke? And I think the best way that I can truly pay tribute to Beto O'Rourke is to go over the history of Beto O'Rourke and what he has meant to this country overall. And doing that, we have to start back in December of 2018. And it was actually on December 6th of 2018 that CNBC was out there and they were saying, the title of the article is Beto O'Rourke's team has been talking to Obama political operatives in Iowa and New Hampshire as 2020 momentum builds. I tell you, that's about as positive a kind of title that you're going to see. What kind of wonderful, he's got momentum, it's 2020. And their article, it starts off really nice. The first paragraph is, Democratic rising star, Beto O'Rourke. His team has been fielding calls. They're getting calls from senior operatives who worked for President Obama's campaign in the pivotal states of Iowa and New Hampshire as the Texas congressman considers running for president in 2020. And of course, if you listen to that and you're thinking about that, I'm sure many Democrats were like, wow, this has got to be exciting. It's Beto O'Rourke. It's, President Obama. We're talking about 2020. They're in Iowa. This is great. This is exciting. Except it's not true. It's not really exciting or true at all. But it did lead to Beto O'Rourke having an early 8%. Still not enough to be anywhere near Biden, nowhere near Elizabeth Sanders. It just wasn't a factor, and he was even above back then, Bernie Sanders. He was even close to Bernie Sanders, but he was above Warren and all the rest. He was the rising star, according to Real Clear Politics at the time. But the real question you have to ask yourself is, Beto O'Rourke, when you're listening to that article by CNBC, the thing that comes to my mind automatically, first of all, he wasn't a congressman. He was out of office. He had already lost his race. He was done. So he's former congressman at that point in 2018. And he's talking to President Obama's team. Fantastic. Ooh, doesn't that sound exciting? Not really. President Obama's team was talking to many of the Democratic nominees at the time. And so he's fielding calls. What team? So in fact, if he's fielding calls, that means he has a team, which means he's already considered the run. He's going to do it. It's just a matter of when was he going to announce it. And if he wasn't announcing it immediately, then he either thought he had something, some story or news event that was going to propel him forward, or he didn't think he could win. Otherwise, he'd have come out in December. But nope, he didn't do that. So we go forward a little bit in time from there. So I want to go forward in time to what we notice is when he came on to the radar of a lot of people, including the 538.com, which is more left-leaning, liberal website. And this was on March what was that? March 14th of 2019, this summer, about 7 months ago. He came on out, and it was Beto O'Rourke. And there he made his announcement. He's going to run for the presidency. And there was so much excitement behind it because 538 says in their article how Beto O'Rourke could win the 2020 Democratic primary. That he could win. You just got to understand, it's not that he could just run, he could win. Isn't that powerful? And you can see, if you're tracking it, back in March, he had a surge when he announced. And he went up to 8.4%, as high as he had ever been since December. And everyone was saying, oh my God, this guy might have a chance. He could probably do it. He could become president. President Beto O'Rourke. And I had something to say about that at that time, too. In fact, I said in my article,
people think he could win. And as you can see, 538 came out with an announcement, their article on this about 6 hours ago, talking about how Beto O'Rourke has a realistic chance of being able to win the 2020 election. And that's kind of interesting because I don't think he has a chance to win the 2020 election. And there's part of the reason I think you may find in here. I mean, his big claim to fame. He was in Congress, he served 2 terms there, and he's been on Oprah. And his best claim to fame at this moment is that Beto O'Rourke can say, well, I almost beat Ted Cruz. And I kind of find it interesting because it kind of says a lot about this election and the election cycle that we're in. I'm getting some news reports on something I'm going to be speaking about in just a minute. It's crazy because who is Beto O'Rourke? He's not Hispanic. As much as you may hear his name and say, well, Beto, well, that means he's Hispanic of some descent. No, he's not.
and that's where I'm going to leave that. And that was back on March 14th when I was talking about it. And at the time, what I said was very simple. As I said then, I've been saying since then. Beto O'Rourke? Beto O'Rourke isn't important. Beto O'Rourke isn't interesting. In fact, if you want to see it, the article is TECN2. Does Beto have a real chance? And AOC's problems with unions. But as I said in the video, who's Beto? He's the guy who lost to the guy who lost to President Trump. That was his claim to fame. He went on to Oprah. He was a darling of many Democrats. He was one of the early rising stars. And his claim was he lost to Ted Cruz in a very tight race. And Ted Cruz lost to President Trump. So therefore, somehow, that means that Beto O'Rourke could beat Trump. That was the logic. That was the logic in December. That was the logic in March. That was the logic of the supporters for Beto O'Rourke. He lost to Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz lost to Trump. So therefore, Beto can win. Somehow. Does that make sense to anyone? I mean, I know in hindsight now, everyone's going, oh yeah, it's obvious that he couldn't win. How did you not see that? He had problems. He just couldn't get tracked. Of course not. He never had what it took. If he did, he would have beat Ted Cruz. He didn't beat Ted Cruz. So he doesn't have what it takes. That's a problem. And I thought it was pretty obvious. Back in March, 7 months ago, on the day that he announced, I was saying, he can't win. Beto O'Rourke had no chance because he had nothing to offer except losing. That's the best thing he could offer. But that wasn't the only thing that Beto O'Rourke could offer. Beto O'Rourke could offer a little bit more than that. And in fact, he did offer a little bit more than that because it was then in September 28th, that Beto O'Rourke, well, for a lot of people, this was the moment that made the decision. This was the defining moment for Beto O'Rourke when he came out, and this is what we saw.
And then we heard the honest truth finally show up. when we heard Beto O'Rourke, when he was on the stage in September, along with the other 2020 Democrats who are all looking to get elected as president. And his answer was, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. They promised that they're going to take it away. It was very direct. I mean, you can't get more than direct than Beto O'Rourke saying, no, we are going to take it. And I love his little story. And again, here comes that B-movie plot where he goes, he went after he said that he wanted to take away the firearms from the public. That's when he went to a gun show. And he was people walking up to him who were buying and selling firearms. And they came up to him and said, thank you for trying to get rid of AR-15s in the weapons ban. Who in their right mind would actually say at a gun show where they are buying and selling firearms, saying, hey, thank you for stopping me from being able to own another firearm? And I finally figured out why that was the case, because it sounds like a stupid B-movie plot, something that you might have heard out of Birdemic, where people are saying, that makes no sense. Except it does, if you realize that as Beto is running around the nation saying he's going to take away the personal property of American citizens, that he's going to invalidate the Constitution, that he is going to deny people their Second Amendment rights, and he is going to put the full weight and power of the government against the individuals in this nation, yeah, that's probably the biggest sales pitch I've ever heard for someone to go out and own a firearm.
See, and that's the key. And that was the moment. Well, that was one of the moments that Beto O'Rourke just fell off of the face of the earth. That was the moment that it was completely confirmed amongst people all across the nation that Beto O'Rourke could not win, that he would never win, that he was only going to be the guy who lost to the guy who lost to Trump. Because you're not going to take away 160 million Americans' firearms. I don't care what you may think about guns. You may love the Second Amendment. You may hate the Second Amendment. You may hate firearms and think that no one in the world should have them, which is just not going to happen. But what the reality is there's 160 million firearm owners in the United States right this second. And there are 350 million firearms. You are not taking away almost 3 guns per American. I don't care how much of the government you have behind you. It's not going to happen. We're not New Zealand. And even in New Zealand, it didn't work there either. It's not going to work anywhere else. It's not going to work in America. And when he said that, he was the greatest gift to gun owners, to gun manufacturers, all over the place, because everybody decided they were going to go out and get a gun. Some of them in protest, some of them in defiance, some of them in preparation. But they were buying guns left and right. And it's kind of a shame to see Beto O'Rourke leave now. The fact that he's not going to be around anymore saddens me, because it means gun sales are going to go down. Because some people are going to say, well, Beto O'Rourke is gone, so we don't have to worry about the guns anymore. The Democrats aren't going to come and take them. Yes, they are. Yes, they are still trying to take your firearms. Yes, they're going to still try and take away the Second Amendment, because they have people like Elizabeth Warren, they have Bernie Sanders, they have Kamala Harris. They have people like Joe Biden, who helped to institute 32 executive orders under President Obama, which were meant only to stop legal, law-abiding citizens. 99.9994% of all gun owners in America who are legal, law-abiding citizens. That's a huge number. So the entire Democratic lineup, they didn't disagree with him on this. They want to take away your AR-15. They want to take away your AK-47. They want to take away the, quote, assault, end quote, firearms and rifles, because they have no idea what they're talking about. Because they think that every gun owner is Rambo. They think that every firearm fires like it does for Sylvester Stallone. They think that owning a gun is some kind of action movie, because they just have no idea what they're talking about. The fact is that firearms aren't deadly, people are. And red flag laws have not worked. They have not worked anywhere that they've been put in place. The SAFE Act has not worked. All of the things, these bills, these laws that have been put forward to punish legal, law-abiding citizens who own firearms have not caused any of the criminals in Chicago or Baltimore or Detroit to stop killing each other and killing innocent bystanders. It has not stopped mass shootings. Gun-free zones have not stopped people from being shot in gun-free zones. The fact is that Beto O'Rourke, the only thing he did right was that he motivated gun owners to get together, go out, buy more firearms, and be more ready to vote in the 2020 election. And I wanted him to stick around a little bit longer so that even more people could know what it is to own a firearm, to be able to go out there and protect themselves, and to be able to defend themselves against those that would take away their rights simply because they say, well, they know better. And I'm sorry, you don't. Because America should never be on the same path that Venezuela was on. Venezuela, a nation that has gone from being rich to being socialist to now, over the last 2 years, killing over 5,000 of its own citizens. The government, the socialist government of Venezuela, is out and has killed over 2,000 people. Where do I get that number from? The New York Times and the UN. That's what socialism will bring you. That's what Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, all of the Democrats, that's what they're looking for. Control, power, and defenseless Americans who could not stop the government from doing anything it wants because they don't have the means to do so anymore. I disagree with that. And I wanted Beto O'Rourke around for a little bit longer so that we could see as Americans the number one reason why you should. But nope, we're not going to get that because Beto O'Rourke is out. He's given up the ghost. In fact, he says in the article, which was written by Politico, we see it in Politico today, came out just a little while ago. Their article starts off and it says, Beto O'Rourke, running out of money and flatlining in public opinion polls, abandoned his presidential campaign on Friday, exiting the contest just as a crush of better funded, higher polling candidates arrive here for an Iowa Democratic Party event. Kind of sad there. Where has Beto gone? He has no money. Shocking, isn't it? No, it isn't. He has no interest in the public. He's been at 2% for almost forever. And if you think I'm wrong, again, I go back to Real Clear Politics and their poll, combining all the polls for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination candidates. And we see that Beto O'Rourke has been and continues to be at about 2%. He's been pretty flatlined. And if you look at the chart, he's the pink one, and it did nothing but going down. His big heyday was 9.5%. That was back in April 7th of 2019. And he's gone downhill from there, never to come back to such lofty heights again. Just reigning at 2%. And really, that's all he ever deserved. He never deserved more. He was never going to be better than that. And there are Democrats out there who say, oh, well, he could have done it. He could have made better. No, he never was going to. And once he said he was going to take away the AR-15s, the AK-47s, that he wanted to make Americans defenseless and dependent on the government and the whims of politicians like himself, a fake Hispanic, that's when he lost the race for the majority of people. And those of us who were paying attention from the beginning said he could never do it. So I stand by my words from December, and I stand by my words in March, and I stand by my words in September. Beto O'Rourke, the best thing he could hope for is he'll be remembered as the guy who lost to the guy who lost to President Trump. And that's one of the best resumes that the Democratic Party has available at this moment for anyone running for 2020. That someone lost to someone who lost to Trump. I'm sorry to see Beto go. gun sales around the nation will drop because of this, and I'm sorry to see that. But hopefully he'll stick around, hopefully he'll try and be involved, and hopefully he will help spark even more Americans to learn the joy of owning a firearm and learning how to properly use them and to be able to defend themselves against criminals and a government with way too much power. Well, these are my thoughts on it. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on it. I hope you have a great day, and I'm going to talk to you again soon. Who do you think is going to be the next one to drop? Kamala Harris, maybe? Amy Klobuchar? The other people that you've never heard of and don't care about? Or is it going to be someone who's actually a name? You tell me. I look forward to seeing your comments on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Please donate if you can. And don't forget, Monday, November 4th, I'm going to be on with Larry Sharp on The Sharp Way. I look forward to seeing you there. Listen to the podcast. See us on Facebook. And let's have a great conversation. Until then, enjoy